HART over wireless using the Condor series of radios. So as if you already don't know, the Condor LAN is really a combination of the of a gateway radio with I/O and also communications. It has a Wi-Fi version, license-free, and a licensed version. It has encryption up to 256, Class 1 Div 2 rated. It can be set up as a point-to-point, a point-to-multipoint configuration. It does have what we call Pro Mesh, which is the mesh network to where each radio is a repeater to itself, to each other. And within the radio, there's a lot of different features that other radio manufacturers do not have, such as a dashboard, logic, and then a data converter. It is based off of 802.11 full IP communications, and within it, we set up and have a proprietary mapping of the I/O and also over the air that makes it the most efficient communications over the air. With the encryption, we have 256. We have 3 layers of access control, and also because it's Ethernet and especially on the Wi-Fi, we can disable it for cybersecurity reasons. It is a data converter, as I mentioned, but it can convert over the air. It uses Modbus, but each one of the radios can be independent and convert that into Modbus RTU or TCP, DNP3, and also MQTT, JSON, and also SparkPlug-B. Within the MQTT, we have 4 clients that we can communicate to a remote broker. We also have the capability of doing serial and or Ethernet over the radios as a gateway to where you can connect software on one end to program a PLC on the other end, and it acts like a physical cable. So with the features of the logic, which we call IO+, it uses statement list. And then also with a really simple HMI, we have a dashboard to be able to view up to 50 registers. If you look into the program structure, the mesh which within the radio portion of it can, as I mentioned, be repeaters to itself. So you have different configurations. You have Pro Mesh, which is that. You can actually set up fixed links, usually for repeaters, and then manually can set it all up manually. But for the most part, everybody uses the Pro Mesh option. On board, it does have 8 DIO and then 4 analog, where 2 of them are single-ended, 2 of them differential, and then 2 of them, there's 2 analog outs. We do have over the serial or RS-45 expansion modules to where we can communicate and expand I/O up to, I think, 10 modules off of the power that is supplied. So off of the bottom part of the radio, there's A, B for communications, but it also has plus and minus to pass 24 volts to power the remote modules. It also has internal status I/O to where you can get the RSSI, the comms fail, and battery voltage or supply voltage. Within this area right here is where we have internal registers to be able to be used from the I/O, from the radio, from the communications ports. This is where, when I get into the HART, we do read the HART over the RS-45 and put it into registers within this area. And we use, because it's analog, it would be the integer and also floating point areas of the memory. With different protocols, we're able to convert from Modbus RTU over the serial, Modbus TCP over the Ethernet port, and then over the radio, we can bring that information in and then convert that to MQTT or DNP3. We do have this, as we call it, WID, is a proprietary event-based peer-to-peer protocol. And if you ever programmed one of our radios, that is that IO mapping that allows you to get access to IO information over the wireless or through the serial or Ethernet ports. So as a portfolio, this is the full range of Condor, excluding the router right here, which is a 641M IO gateway. I also included the 115, which does not have the wireless, but it does have Ethernet and serial like all the others. So across the board, as I mentioned, there's 8 DIO, where 4 of these can be pulsed in or out for analog ins to analog outs. And that goes across the 115, 215, which is Wi-Fi, 925, which is 900 megahertz, and 415, which is the license from 150 to 900. We do have this unit right here, as it's enclosed in a enclosure that works with the 415, which is the license radio. Has smaller IO. It has all the capability, some of the capability of the rest of the line. But the main thing is it's in an enclosure. It has a MPPT solar controller built into it, where you could just connect the solar panel and battery, and it allows you to conserve that battery by waking up at certain times and taking the measurements and going back to sleep. The router, which I'm going to be using in a demo, we have a version that actually is our 641M-4, which has a MQTT broker. So I'm going to show you that. But this is our cellular router that has some features like the MQTT and also the Modbus gateway. So across the line for the Condor, as I mentioned earlier, we could do the Modbus gateway, MQTT store and forward. As the MQTT Sparkplug V, we could do, as I mentioned, 4 clients, in which I have set up within the demo also to show MQTT. As that Logic IO Plus dashboard for all of them, and then for the 215, it has a Wi-Fi hotspot. So applications. This is one of the configurations that we could do with the Condor line as a gateway. And then I'll show you where we can set it up to where it's in a network. So as a standalone unit, you go within the serial communications and set up IO HART gateway, and you have to connect over the RS-45 a MUX, which we have it programmed for one from Eaton MTL that has 16, and then they have another version that has 32, where this also is class 1 div 2, but they have a version that is a class 1 div 1. So we will be able to get into a class 1 div 1 area using intrinsically safe barriers that are built into the MUX. So with this, we set that up. You can set up 16 devices. I have only one set up. And what it does, we have logic within our radio that goes across to RS-45 and talks to this MUX controller. And it will, first of all, determine if it's online. Second, it'll go scan all of the channels to see which channels are wired. In my case, it's going to be 10. Then it goes out to the end device and says, hey, who are you? What manufacturer? I'm going to be tied to I am tied to a ENH level transmitter. Then it asks, well, who are you? What type are you? And it comes back and it says it's a level. Then it starts in the data mode, filling in the registers in the Modbus of the 38,500, the 4 variables, but then also the current on that loop. And then if you want to get into remotely configuring it, we have what is called asset management mode. So when you do that, you have to set up a virtual serial port for it to communicate via, in my case, Packware. So my FDT container is Packware. And then it converts it, and then you set up the IP address that will communicate over our radios. And in this case, because it's a gateway, it's just going to go to the IP address of this radio and the port number you have set up, and it allows you to go over to the MUX and then pick which HART device you want to configure or calibrate using Packware. So another configuration would be to have it communicate over to a remote base radio. So we're able to do that, and that's what the whole advantage we have over others is we can communicate this HART information over a long range wireless network. And it could be up to 20 miles with our licensed and unlicensed 900, or in the case of license, down to 150. But with the feature set of the Condor, at any node, you can pick to convert this to MQTT, Modbus RTU, Modbus TCP, or DNP3. In my demo, I have the remote transmitting that and configured to communicate over MQTT. The base radio, I have it to where it's in the registers to be able to interface over Modbus. And I'm going to be able to go to the web server and be able to look at the information that is in here, that I've set up a IO map from here to put into registers, into the internal registers of the base radio. So other configurations that we're working on is being able to interface to wireless HART. So in this case, it would be somebody else's wireless HART gateway. We are looking into putting one into our new radio, the Quantum, but we did have one in aboard in mine, but it was obsoleted. So to do that development, it would be maybe not, we don't have a case scenario to pay for it. So what we're planning on doing is using, for example, Emerson's or E&H's or others to pull in the wireless HART, but then act the same way as I just showed you with the data mode and the asset management mode. And as same concept, be able to transmit that up to 20 miles. So with the demo, I'm going to show, as I mentioned through the presentation, I have a base radio, and by the way, I'm using the demo set to do this, so I just added to the demo set. So if you would like to have my configuration, I could share that with you. The HMI radio I have set up as .100, the IP address. My computer that's running Packware is 10. Out in the field, the remote is 101. I have it set up to communicate over the RS-45 HART to a MUX, the MTL MUX, and then I have a E&H level transmitter wired to channel 10. And the MUX also has addresses. You can go up to, I think, 32 MUXes, but we have it set up at 1. And then what I also have shown right here is our 641M 4 that has a MQTT broker built into it, and it is at .60. I was starting to look into doing a remote one, which I'm going to add to it, but I didn't have that. I don't have that set up right now. But as if you know MQTT, you can easily do that. And we in the radio can send up to our data up to 4 clients. So we're using one here, and then in the future I'll have one that's remote up in the cloud. So this slide shows you the layout of the Eaton MTL MUX, and it shows you the wiring of this. We have a tech note that shows you this within the software. This is what we're, I guess, in beta version right now. We're testing it within version 2.57 for Condor. And as I mentioned, this can be used across the whole family. So the 115, 215, 925, and also the 415. The config software is actually at 69 right now, build 69, but this version is in beta and it's 72. You would need to get a Eaton MTL MUX. We also have a virtual serial software that you have to run to where you can have a serial port within your FDT software or container. In my case is Packware, but then we need to convert it to Ethernet. And then it runs on 6.1 of Packware. We tried on 5 and it didn't work. So within the serial port settings, as I'm going to show you, but here's a little screenshot of it. All you need to do is go and pick HART IO gateway, put the data rate and the format, which is 19 to 8 odd 1, and then at the bottom for the software that I have for virtual, I have to put TCP server and then a port number, which I have 5002. Then within the virtual software, you set that up. And then when you have it connected within the web server, looking at, in my case, 101, I will be able to see the channel 10 and the information from the HART device. So let me jump to the demo, and it's signed up. I need to wake up everything. Sorry, it timed out, so I'm connecting. This is the remote one, which has the HART MUX connected to it. So let me show you. All right, so here, well, let me go to the serial, and I'll show you the configuration. So within my setup of the demo, I am connected, and I'm looking at the via the web, looking at the web server of 101, which is connected to the MUX. I'm going to show you how to configure this part right here. So if I go there, it's literally one selection, which is HART IO gateway. You put the data rate and then you put the format. which this is. And then, as I mentioned, for the asset management mode, I'm using TCP and port number 5002. Once I do that, I'll show you that it's working and reading from the ENH level. So I'm reading it right now. And notice it's showing online. It has a address within the MUX. So you can use this as diagnostics. If it wasn't communicating, this would show offline. And then it went through its procedure program. It saw that I had something wired to channel 10. It's an ENH, made a sensor by ENH, and its device type shows you that it is it's a level, and it's communicating and grabbing the data from the loop and then the 4 variables. And notice we put dial registers that this is being stuffed into at that remote radio. So if you want to go look at that information in the base radio, which I mapped, and I'll show you that. I did a mapping of this data here. So the 385.91 through 100 is being mapped from the gateway. I'm reading it from the remote to the HMI, and then I'm just going to show you that information. And this shows you the current PV, secondary, variable, tertiary, and a quad. So that is data mode. So when you put it into asset managed mode, as I mentioned, you have to set up a virtual serial port, and I did that already. And it's set up to communicate. I picked COM10. I had the IP address of that remote radio, and I'm going to port 5002. And if you remember, that is what's set up within that radio serial, the RS-485 page. Then I have Packbar open. I'm using that COM port 10. This is the DTAM of the MTL MUX, and this is just a generic DTAM for which I'm using for the ENH level. It's configured for channel 10, and I'm going to go connect to it. It shows me my data, and if I want to go and change parameters, I can do that through Hackware. But as I mentioned earlier, when it is in this asset management mode, it disables the polling for that device. So it's showing me right here, and this is showing you in a diagnostic mode, but it actually goes to a register within the registers of the radio. So that is set up at 11,700, and it's set at 1. So I'm going to go disconnect, which it takes me out of the asset management mode. And now we have it set at 30 seconds to revert back to data mode. So I'm waiting 30 seconds for that. But while I do that, I'm going to show you the MQTT. So with MQTT, I asked our developer to put within our router a MQTT broker. So that's what we did. I've set it up here to where username is ELPRO MQTT and have a password and enable it. It's unsecure right now. If I want to do the certificates, I could do 8883, do my certificate, and then be able to have a secure network using TLS. We also have bridge mode to where you can bridge this information with another broker, but I don't have that set up. I just have the broker. And let me go back and see if it timed out. Now it timed out. It's in data mode. It's putting that information into those registers. And let's see if I need to wait. MQTT. Well, I'm going to refresh this. Just make sure that it is communicating. All right, so while I wait for that, I'm going to show you, well, on my other screen, other computer, I'm actually using VT-SCADA, and I'm able to browse and look at the HART data via MQTT within VT-SCADA. So while I'm waiting on that, I just wanted to briefly go over what's coming with the Quantum. This is what the Quantum will look like. It has the same form factor as the Condor, where it's kind of like a built bookshelf. It has all the feature sets of the Condor, but it has added two more analogs. But we added HART and multi-drop HART on the analogs, analog ins and outs. So with the Quantum, we wouldn't need the MUX. It would be built into the I/O on the front of the unit. What we are also adding and replacing the I/O Plus with Node-RED, and we'll have it to where it will run in the Linux. We're using Linux. It's an ARM 64 processor. It can use to run that natively, but then also we're going to have, which within Node-RED you could do the logic in the dashboard, so you can do an HMI. But within the Linux, we're going to be building a Docker container where you can add other applications. So you can actually create, convert, well, make the Quantum via RTU with Codesys or other Docker systems. We are going to be adding Ethernet IP, Profinet, and Profibus DP within the protocol conversions. But then within the first unit, we're just going to have short-range Wi-Fi, but they have 3 slots. There's one allocated for short-range, well, long-range Wi-Fi, 900, 2.4, and 5, licensed 150, 900, an unlicensed 900. So that's slot one, and that pretty much matches all of the different radios that we have within the Condor line, plus our modems that are the 245 and the 945. On slot two, we will have LoRaWAN, and then future potentially wireless HART, depending on how the inquiries come in for a wireless HART. And for slot three, that's where we have our cellular, 4G, 5G, AT&T FirstNet, and I just found out in the last few weeks that Verizon has a similar system as AT&T FirstNet. So I went through the demo and the feature set of the Quantum and then also the Condor. So if anybody, we can open it up for any questions. Any questions?
Kevin, we do have one question requiring requesting when the firmware and software will be out of beta and become available to the public.
Good question. I'm gonna I'll get with engineering this next week to see when that is. What we are doing is I'm in a process of testing different manufacturers' HART devices. So if you want, you can help me test it. But as of right now, we're making a list of different companies that are interested in making sure we test the HART devices first. So I will just get his contact info, and then we forward it to and if you're interested. But the thing is, you have to get a Eaton MTL MUX to test. But it should be, we want to be able to test it on the certain sensors first, and then release it. So it's getting close. We are also wait, what, Matt?
So we could also coordinate that with Dave.
Yeah.
Offline as well.
What we also are going to do is one of our and I'm not sure if anybody else has other MUX, HART MUXes. We're going to be testing on PNFs, and then if you have another one, we can test it on there.
Other questions come in, Kevin. Could the Quantum have a mix and match radio, for instance, dual band 2.4, 5 gig, and 900 running at the same time for mesh networks?
As I understand it, it's going to only have one slot for that, which is slot one. And that's, we could ask engineering. If you want to make a note of that, and we can ask engineering to see if we can use slot two for another one of these. But
right. The way I understand it is that you can do it as long as one's going to be cellular for slot three. So you can do cellular and slot three.
But the thing is, it's the real estate it takes. So
right.
we need to look at that if they have interest in that. Because you could do a lot of different combinations, but we have to look at real estate and then also power consumption. So there's a potential that we can.
Okay. Another question. Is HART limited to Eaton MUX or any Pacware compatible devices?
Right now, is only tested with Eaton's mux, and as I mentioned, I'm waiting for a P&F mux to see what it would take to do that. Because what we need to do is, it's not our device, but we need to get with whoever developed it and be able to know the code internally to the mux to be able to interface to it. So we're going to start. We have it with MTLs, but then we're going to look at PNF. If you have another one, let us know, and we'll do the same. And then with Packware, only tested with Packware. I'm planning on. There's a customer in Westlake that has about 13 of the 905s, and we started. I guess it was about 6 months ago. I did training for him, and I showed him what we were doing with the HART, and he's like, I want to change them all out with non-25s when this HART comes out. So I have a call into him, and he has Emerson AMS. So when I'm out there, I'm going to test it with Emerson AMS. I'm going to also test with E&H's and then Honeywell. So I'm already have talked to a few partners to be able to get some instruments from them, and also the asset management software. But as of right now, Packware is tested in MTL.
Okay. We got two more questions that come in. Next one. Any chance to receive in the future direct HART signals from the transmitter? I believe that's in the quantum product. We'd be able to do that.
Yeah, it would be in the quantum. And analog outs. So they had a request for analog outs for like a positioner.
And next question. What software were you using to create your virtual serial port?
Oh, it is actually freeware right now, but we changed it to another version that I haven't tested yet, because it uses, let's see, you see my screen? So HW group virtual serial. But what I've only used this, and it's local. Our firmware, the engineer that developed the code, the HART code in the Condor, tested it with different repeaters, and what he did is this software didn't like it because it timed out. So what he did is he researched another one, which I don't have loaded or configured yet, and it uses UDP, and it doesn't time out, and he has set it up to where it goes through I think 2 repeaters, because you set this up and you're able to go up to 20 miles, but in those cases you may have repeaters. So that software would be a better choice for this. And I don't know the name yet, but this one works TCP.
And last question, when will available literature for the quantum product?
Oh, we have some data sheets that were produced, so we can send that. We are just FYI, the what I'm calling the basic one, which, as the engineers compare it, because it has built-in short-range Wi-Fi, it's similar to a 215. They just finished the hardware schematics and sent it out to the manufacturer to get some prototype boards. So they were telling me for me to get one, and if other partners want to get some to try to break it, we will have some in about 2 months. A physical, but not with the Wi-Fi, with all the different choices of the Wi-Fi. As it comes out, we're going to release it so where we can start testing the basic functionality of it. And as we add the boards into it and get certification, we can add to the models, to the base model, and then have the different combinations.
Okay.
Something else, because it has the Docker, or it will have a Docker container. We're working closely with Fortinet for cybersecurity. So you'll be able to have a very secure network if you have projects that require that when the Quantum comes out with that Docker container.
Okay. All right. Well, that seems to be all the questions that we've gotten at this point, Kevin. Give it a couple more seconds, see if anyone else.
Yeah, and just to let y'all know, I gave y'all a taste of Quantum, but I think that's our next webinar. Which I've been given some presentations in the last month, and everybody wants it now because it's a unique animal. It has all the newer technology in it, so it's going to be something in the that's nobody else is going to have, other manufacturers, unless they add, they would have to have different, like one or two other devices to make what the Quantum is going to be able to do, to be equivalent.
Nice tease for the next session.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to do, is tease you.
Well, everyone, I appreciate your time this afternoon. This will be recorded, or this has been recorded, and we'll have it edited and posted to the YouTube channel, hopefully first part of next week. And again, appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us, and look forward to working with all of you in the future. And the next session, we'll have set up an invite in the next couple of weeks as well. So again, thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good day.